We had Clark calling the meeting to order. The first order of business is to discuss and vote for a chairman for the committee.
I ask that we nominate Andrew as the chair, being that he can be a chair since he has all the information. So my nomination is for Andrew. Second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. You're the boss.
Okay. So I think this information is probably, we've gone over it a few different times, Mike and Barbara, and, I'll just go down the list that I have. And, basically the projects that I'm asking for like approval on, we can go by department. So I'll start with.
I'm sorry, can you give us a little bit more background on how much cash we had and what it's down to now, how much we cut out?
You mean, free cash?
We had free cash of whatever.
Yep.
And then we took out some for the budget and kept some in for a bank account. So the amount we have now is $558 to spend.
I'm asking to approve $558,000 to spend. The original free cash amount was 1.4 million. I think we're banking about 600 grand or so, and not allocating it towards anything.
Oh, I got it, yeah.
And then the rest of it's gonna go to OPEB and unpaid bills and stuff like
okay.
that.
Sounds good.
So the first project is MS4 engineering. This is basically gonna go for the entire fiscal year. It's basically support services, which would include all program management, illicit discharge detection and elimination, pollution prevention, impaired waters management. This money could be stretched for a couple fiscal years. But it's originally the request was for 75,000. We've since worked it down to about 50,000.
So it's based on need. If we don't need it, we don't spend it.
Exactly.
And is it just the town that can spend it? Or what if committees ask for some engineering, or no, it's just the town?
I think it comes from out of the town, and it's mostly the DPW that manages this.
Okay.
Yep.
Andrew, I have a question about this.
Yep.
I was looking at, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was looking at your 5-year capital improvement plan, and it looks like we have that built in every year. Is this gonna be a continuing expense?
So that was a, oversight on my part. When I had talked to Frank originally, I had thought it was a yearly thing, but he says the 75, it was a 75 down to 50. That can take multiple years. That 75 was just a placeholder that he had, and he really said we can just do this now for this year, and it should be able to go a couple years. So I don't expect to come back with it next year.
So what I understand is this is the engineering work, like when we have to approve a road or something like that, where they're coming in and they're our consult, right?
Correct.
Okay. And none of that cost can be passed back to developers?
No, this is more for like the town's obligations, not really quite for the project. So it's like a state required thing we do.
Do you know what we've spent in the past? Has this cost been going up?
I don't know. I know it's kind of a recent mandate from up top in the state, so I don't know if what we've spent in the past. Frank seemed to think 50 would cover probably 2 fiscal years.
Okay, so this is a new mandate from the state, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay.
On Barbara's point too, I was looking, we taken out technology improvements. What would that have been for? It's compared to the website. Is website more important than?
Technology improvements would have been computer replacements and certain stuff like that, switches maybe. That was originally, it was a request, but we've since found like 110,000 in old capital accounts that we just never spent.
Oh, okay.
That money could then come out of. So we didn't think we needed to get more money for that.
So you're still working on it, but you're using different funds?
Right.
Okay.
And then the town website is just a complete upgrade of the town website.
Is our IT guy do the website, or do we outsource that to another company?
We outsource it to Civic Plus.
Civic Plus?
Civic Plus, yep.
Do we bid that out?
I think they must have in the past, probably a number of years ago. We don't necessarily need to do that now to upgrade it. We can fit that in the procurement laws to do that.
Okay.
We essentially have the worst version of Civic Plus website. This would upgrade to the top. There's really like a bad, medium, and best.
Right.
Between medium and best, it's not really a big difference, so we thought we'd just go with the highest.
So does our admin allow, if we want to change pictures or change lines or change whatever, do we have to go through them to do it? Or is that something we can do on site?
Something we can do. We designate about between 3 and 5 administrators to take care of the website. That's typically, the select board has someone that does that, the clerk's office does. We would handle all that. But the big thing with the upgrade is, I think we only have like 4 widgets right now, which like features. The top has like over 30. And it's just a whole bunch of stuff we could just do better. Right now, we can only put 3 things on the news and announcements. So if we have a 4th, stuff gets lost kind of. This, it's just better.
And we take payments through that website, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Online payments, and it's just the way it looks like right now is just not great.
No, I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
Andrew, so, having gone through this really painful conversations about where we are financially, and your own willingness to, not see a raise, which I don't support that, but in any event, you must feel pretty strongly that this is important, because to me, this is something that I would cut, but you've left it in, even at the expense of other things that, including yourself. So I guess what I'd like to just know is that truly how you feel? You want to see this in here because it's that important?
Yeah. So I actually put my raise back in.
Yeah, you should. Good.
Yeah. We put a number of things back in. I can send that information to you as part of the finance committee. But I would say the biggest complaint I've heard since before I started, and then even day to day, is the communication in the town's pretty bad. And there's a lot of stuff I think we could do better to sell the town, and there's just no capability to do that through the website.
Yeah, people want to know what Lakeville's about. I mean, I can't even find when the town meeting is on there.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not in the calendar, I don't think, and it should be an announcement or whatever.
Yeah, the way the calendar looks, even myself, when I go to the search bar and try to find stuff, it takes forever, and I don't find it, and it's kind of frustrating just from my perspective.
Shouldn't be more than 2 clicks, otherwise you get crazy.
There's just way more stuff we can do. It's not ADA compliant at the current time. This would kind of bring us into that. So I think 30,000 is a little bit of a high estimate. I think they gave us about 20,000, but there's always these extras that they give us the option to add on. So I think that might close out probably under 30, but I just wanted to give a buffer just in case.
Okay. In any other circumstance, Andrew, because of the type of austerity we're talking about, I would not be supporting that, but I believe that your recommendation carries a lot of weight. And so I would go ahead and support that town website revision on the basis that I trust you.
Okay.
So
If it makes your job easier, we're all for it.
yeah, if it makes your job easier and you believe in it, then we should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing in town calendar for the town meeting, so people are interested.
Yeah, the calendar's awful. When we have a big building project like the fire station, we put it on a tab, and to find that tab on the website's tough.
Oh, yeah.
So you really can't even, it's tough to get information out.
Yeah.
Really, without 5 million clicks to get to it.
So they're really going to do a huge maker over it so that it's easier to use.
Yeah.
Instead, if I want to find a number of someone on the health board, I got to go click, 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 click.
Right.
So hopefully we're doing this to make it usable, user-friendly.
Yeah, definitely.
We would not be looking for an upgrade to that. It looks like you don't have it in the capital plan for another 5 years, 6 years? No, 5 years, excuse me. So we should be okay with this whatever you're buying in this version should get us through at least another 5 or 6 years.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And I think, I mean, the operating cost year to year is pretty small. It's just really the upfront to do this. And some examples, if you're just looking through websites that what it would look like, Plymouth is one, Reading is one, and Middleborough is one that just we did theirs, all Civic Plus.
Right.
Kind of what we would be looking for.
Okay. I'm ready. Barbara?
Yep, next.
Okay.
Well, we got to vote, right?
Do we want to vote by, I guess, department, or do you want to?
No, let's vote per individual thing.
Individual?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to do MS4
Yep.
first?
Motion to approve?
Second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I should say Minkowski, aye.
Mr. Smith, aye. I'll make a motion on the town website for 30,000.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
The next one is the facilities department. The first big one is the library roof replacement project. The roof hasn't been done over since the construction of the library, and it's in pretty poor shape.
It's a long time.
Yeah, 20 plus years. It's a long time for a municipal roof. So that's about 250 grand, which is a pretty cheap price, and we even got that estimate from a company that kind of tends to be on the high end. So I'm hoping that actually comes under 250.
Yeah, I saw the quote we had to do for the Parks building, so that was a lot of money for
Yeah.
a shed. So this already it didn't go out to bid, but you got ideas of what it is?
Yeah, we got a quote from Greenwood,
Greenwood,
which is a
okay.
roofing company.
And what's the timeline you're looking for?
I think it would be right after in the summer
Okay.
into the fall.
And I won't, go ahead.
Point of clarification, so we have one estimate, or did we get more than one estimate?
Just one.
Okay, so I personally think we should absolutely have more than one estimate to approve something like that. Only because I think competition breeds a little more honesty. Do you have a reason why you didn't feel that we needed to get that second bid?
Well, this isn't like we're giving it to this guy. It's just like a quote to get like what it would, a general ballpark of what it would cost to do. We actually have to, if this gets approved, we have to actually go out to bid and get a.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not an RFP. I mean, when I did all my things, I had to get a quote to have a starting point, and then
Yeah.
I would write it up, and then they would get the bids. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. Andrew, let me ask you, when you have this placeholder number of the 250, how long?
Your default speaker has changed to speakers 2.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh.
What was that?
The speaker.
Oh,
Might have lost
Okay,
connection.
now I can,
Oh, it's weird. You can continue, Barbara, sorry.
we didn't hear anything,
no, that's
Barbara.
okay. My question was, when that 250 placeholder was, when that information was gathered, how long ago was that?
About 2 months ago.
Okay, so it's fairly recent. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep. And then the other one at the library is the heating system replacement, which is just the controls. The controls haven't been
Yeah.
updated since the library was created. So those are kind of,
So the unit doesn't need to be replaced, it's the controls for the unit?
the unit will probably have to be replaced in the next couple of years, but this is the first part of that.
Yeah, so obviously with the winter coming and if, so obviously nothing's under warranty, so we gotta pay for it ourselves.
Yep.
Because of the age.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Okay, well, the other thing I would just mention for any of our constituents that are watching, typically if you get an upgrade in your controls, you can also gain some efficiency because control technology has improved. I don't know if it's the case in this scenario or not, but oftentimes it's like getting an updated thermostat. They just do a better job.
Yeah, that's basically the same concept. We'll definitely probably save money long term.
Especially if you
Okay.
can put on timers and control it, so it goes down to 55 at night and
Yeah. And
so forth.
Yeah, like you do at your house, Mike. I know.
And the big problem with old controls is the more maintenance you gotta do on them.
Yep.
So when you get new,
Yep.
you get new controls, it saves money that way too.
Okay.
And then
What's the operating capital about?
So the operating capital, historically, Paul Nee, the facilities manager, has a line in his budget. It's about 75,000, and it's really to do any sort of maintenance or repairs of like really any amount. And so he uses that budget. So
Yeah,
we were trying to get creative and take money out of the operating budget in order to save money for other things. And we thought we could just do a free cash article where Paul could just go and tap into, and it's basically the same
yeah.
concept, just taking it out of operating budget.
Barbara, just so you know, I've worked a lot with him at the parks. He primarily does everything himself unless,
No, Paul's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have no disagreement with that at all. I just am wondering, you know, when we book stuff and I get what you're saying now. When I looked at this line item, it didn't make sense to me, but I understand what you're saying. You're just pulling it out of what we've already got on the other side.
yeah.
Correct, yep.
Okay, that's all right. I'd make a motion to approve all three of these.
I second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Okay, next up is the police department. It's, their yearly or biannual vehicle replacement. So this would be 2 cruisers with all associated equipment. And it's 128,000. I think I was told that they might not need it next year, so, they try to do them every couple of years, so the
Yeah, I'm
cruisers don't get old.
trying to remember at the meeting last year, they just asked for laptops last year. I don't think we got him anything, did we, cruiser-wise?
I don't believe so, but I could be wrong
I was just,
on that.
yeah. Listen, if he needs it, I'm sure he needs it. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we had when he presented out during our joint hearings, it was interesting to hear him talk about Chief Perkins speaking about what happens when these vehicles are getting usage. You know, people think, well, you don't have to buy a car every couple of years. Well, these do, because they're driving all day long.
That's a fact.
And the guy that's repairing them, you know, they're doing everything kind of on a shoestring budget. And I think they should be commended for that, because they are trying to control costs for us. The capital improvement plan, though, Andrew does show getting additional cars. So if we have 2 for the 128 this year.
Yep.
Are we planning on needing those replacements? I thought I heard you say we probably wouldn't.
Yeah, so he put this in a number of months ago, probably in December, January. He's kind of since said that he could actually probably skip a year if he had to.
Okay.
So,
So
Yeah.
I guess that brings up the question, you know, is this year and next year going to be better to skip something? Because clearly we're going to have to.
I would say probably next year would be the better year to skip.
Yeah, use the money while we have it. Who knows if we'll have it next year?
Well, the cost for the vehicles could go way up by next year also. So
Right.
that's another reason to pull the trigger today instead of tomorrow. Okay.
And Andrew, Frank's guy, Billy, he's the one who maintains it, right?
Not these ones.
Not these
There's
ones?
I forget the officer's name, but there's someone in-house that he's also like a mechanic
Oh,
of some
okay.
kind that handles it. And I think any major repair that needs to happen, they take it to Billy.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So they have a couple people employed by the town to take care of them.
Does Frank get compensated for that in his budget for repairing town vehicles, or is that just a part of it? Just curious.
I think he has a couple lines that pay for parts and.
Yeah, there's repair and maintenance lines for vehicles in both budgets, so I think, you know, essentially the invoices come in and they can back charge it towards the police budget, repair
Oh,
and
okay.
maintenance, yeah, so.
Yeah, but they're only charging us for things they can't take care of themselves, I think. They really are very, very conscientious
That's
Oh,
correct.
about tax dollars.
And then the other project actually we cut out at the last select board meeting. so that's not gonna be funded this year. It's the irrigation well at the police
Yeah.
station.
I was gonna say that, I wouldn't support that one. So for this one, for police, we're just going to approve the 128.
That's
I'll make a
correct.
motion to approve the 128.
Before we do that, big question with the well, wouldn't they be able to tap into the water for the fire station eventually?
So they have a line here.
Right, but I'm saying,
So they have a line here. The issue is when the station was built, I guess the site work wasn't done very well. And actually, when they actually do water this out here, it doesn't really make a huge difference. And even when they do, it costs
right,
like between 5,000 and 10,000 a year
oof,
to do it,
All right.
which is just, I
ridiculous.
think if they do the well, they'd save money that way, but, it's definitely a project I think they can skip a year or two.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the 128,000 for the vehicle replacement.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
The next one is the fire department entered into a lease, I think 2 years ago.
Yep.
And it was a lease to purchase.
Yeah,
And the way that we've since funded that is a free cash
Yeah.
yearly article.
yeah, we did that last year too. It was like $1 million something, right?
It
So,
was, yeah.
so leasing was best for the town.
Yeah, so that's 175,000. I think we're gonna end up having to do this the next 7 years on top of this. So,
Is it a fixed rate?
yeah, 175 a year.
No, is it a fixed interest rate?
I believe so.
Just curious.
I don't have the debt schedule with me, but I can email you. when
Yeah,
I get
I'm
back and
just
take a look.
curious.
That's an awfully big line item, and I'd love to find a way to say no to that, but I don't think there is.
0, 0 way.
Zero way to say no, so we have to
Zero.
approve that. I'll make a motion to approve.
I second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Barbara said aye with an asterisk.
I'm just worried because the money's so tight. It's
I
just
know, but
awfully tight.
it's just like your mortgage, it's gotta get paid.
The next department is the Public Works, DPW. The main, the first one I should say is the roadway improvements. This is an article I think that's been handled probably the same way over the last, I don't know, at least since Frank's been here, the last 7 years. So this is on top of the chapter 90 allocation the town gets. So basically the town historically, just the way the funding formula is through the state, we don't get a whole lot. Generally, it's about 450,000. And so the town's always supplemented that to make that go further, to do more roads in town. Frank asked for 375, and we brought that down to 100, and that was due to the Fair Share Act, bringing our total up to about 650.
Yeah.
So we
Nice.
have more money that way, and I'm hearing that might go up more with the Senate budget coming into play. So I don't know what that's gonna look like yet, but it might be a little bit more.
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday about this and he goes, hey, anything I can get is great, so.
And Frank has a pretty good balance from, I think, this year. So he does a lot of projects, fiscal 25,
Yeah,
and into 26.
he's got a great sharpened pencil.
He does.
No, he really does. He really does. We're very lucky. Okay.
So we,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second. Any discussion? This is on the 100,000 for the roadway improvements.
Correct.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I just put
Can I
the,
ask one question before we move forward, Andrew?
yeah,
We're pulling that 100,000 out of free cash.
correct.
Should it not be part of our regular budgeted? I mean, I think of free cash, maybe we should have a side discussion, but I always think about free cash like the extra money in my savings, you know?
Yeah.
Not earmarked for anything.
I almost kind of think of it as cash in your wallet. So it's not technically in your savings account, but it's just a savings in your pocket. I don't know if it's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
one-time revenue source, really. So it's kind of how well the town did in the previous year. We exceeded our revenue expectations, budgetary turnbacks, and there's a calculation that the state certifies your free cash. And there's no guarantee it's going to be $1.4 million. That number could fluctuate significantly. But yeah, it's kind of essentially a rainy day fund, and most municipalities just purchase one-time capital equipment, and it's really not used for operations.
So Frank actually does have money in his budget. I think it's like under 50,000 for like roadway kind of repairs.
Yeah, he does.
In a perfect world, Barbara, we would have a lot of money in the operating, but we just don't have the capability to do that.
Yeah, and the way that the municipalities and the state manage that way that the way they manage all that is just confusing to me, but, okay. I'm okay with that. The capital plan shows us having this going forward. Are we gonna continue to look at this through free cash the way we are this year? Or do you anticipate it would be able to be built in next year?
Probably this way.
Okay,
Yeah, probably this way, unfortunately.
Now,
okay.
once, because this is from the previous year, once we get audited and we'll know our next free cash by the fall, September,
Usually.
October.
Yeah, usually it's the fall.
So in case there was an emergency and we had 1 million in it, we could tap into that if by a vote.
Yeah, so in order to utilize free cash and appropriate free cash, you need a town meeting vote.
No,
Yes.
but if we had one in November and we had a huge expense, something happened in October and we needed 400,000 or 500,000, we could technically tap into that without going backwards and cutting anything. Is that correct?
Yes.
If it's a town vote.
If it was a town vote, yes.
Right.
If it was, yeah.
Historically, I don't think Lakeville goes back in the fall for capital items, but I'm not opposed to
But being this is so bare bones,
Right.
something may happen.
Right, that's true, definitely. The next one I just put on there just to illustrate how much money we get through Chapter 90, which this year is 667. I don't need a vote on that. The next one is the bud permit material removal.
Yeah,
We discussed it a number of times. Essentially, there's a soil pile behind the DPW that's technically contaminated with just various materials. And DEP has basically told us that we need to remove it or make attempts to remove it over time. It's not a huge pile, but it's big enough, and it's so expensive to remove that it would probably cost millions of dollars to do it. I don't think it.
How much?
Probably millions. And so I don't think it necessarily qualifies for state funding to remove it. And we try to allocate some money every year to remove it out of our capital
Right.
plan. So,
I talked to him yesterday. He said it would be great to have it in case anything happens, so, it's only 25 grand, so.
yeah.
Andrew, does Frank where does this contamination soil come from? It's obviously, is it old? Is it ongoing? What's the story with where it's coming from?
I believe it comes from, is it catch basins and like old kind of construction materials that they've collected over the years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I don't want to say technically, but the contaminations, it's not like dangerous, hazardous materials. It's just construction debris that the state technically qualifies as hazardous, I guess.
I feel like everything always ends up back at stormwater control.
yeah,
I slice it. Okay.
Yeah.
And we've been paying this for some time. You're just trying to keep it in there like we've been keeping it in there and chip away at it?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I mean, like in our neighborhood, our catch basins are sand. It just, it doesn't go anywhere, it just catches in there, and then they clean it out whenever they have to.
Yeah. I think that's probably technically contaminated, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
Definitely contaminated.
Barbara
yes.
over fertilizes her lawn, so it comes down to my neighborhood.
Oh, please. Okay. I guess one thing I just make as a comment is, every single thing in the world is getting more expensive. And just using the example of plastic recycling, the costs of that kind of stuff just continues to go up and up and up. So if we can just keep an eye on it, because if these costs are going to exponentially go up, it might be worth a conversation to increase the line item. to help us get ahead of it. I mean, I don't know how many millions of dollars you're talking about, because 25,000 on a million isn't much. But anyway, I'll leave that one alone.
Okay.
Okay.
That was
His
next
head's
year.
spinning anyway. So we reached our goal of 558,000?
Well, we're not quite there yet.
Oh, I thought-
For free cash, we are.
No, that's what I'm talking about, just
Yeah.
free cash. We're
Yeah.
getting into capital. now.
Yep. The sidewalk plow was actually removed from the capital plan this year. So that's gone. And then the last one is a cabin chassis with dump and salt equipment.
Yeah, he's not jumping up and down about it, so.
Yeah, well, he is for the cabin chassis, I guess, but he's not for the sidewalk plow, he's not.
No, not at all.
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay, so he needs the cab.
Yep.
Cabin chassis.
Okay, all right. So we didn't vote on the roadway improvements, did we?
Yeah, we did.
We did, but we
You
didn't,
did,
we
okay.
didn't, not for the bud material.
So we need to vote on
The bud.
permit material removal?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the cabin chassis, 200,000 out of capital stabilization.
Quick question though. It says cabin chassis with dump and salt equipment.
Yep.
So what did you take out?
I took out the sidewalk. plow.
Sidewalk plow. Okay, so this is all contained.
Yeah, this is separate.
All right. Barbara, you made a motion?
I did. Motion to approve the material removal and the cabin chassis.
Okay, I second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The next one, these will be on the special town meeting warrant. Essentially, the transfer station was de-enterprised, and so we have retained earnings, I think, from fiscal, 24?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So this, we're spending that down before it becomes de-enterprised officially.
Right.
So I don't know if we need to go over these, do you want me to go over specific?
No, I mean, this
projects,
this isn't a town budget technically thing, because we have the money for it. Yes?
Yeah, we have the money for it. Yeah, we'll be spending down.
And then next year, the money's gonna come from the budget,
It would
being
come-
it's de-enterprised.
Yep,
So this is our last thing to do that with,
yeah,
okay?
yep.
This will essentially add to the free cash number.
Yes.
Now that it's gonna be part of the general fund.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Then there was the last one, Loon Pond Lodge improvements. That is just there for, reference purposes. That's coming out of green community funding, so that doesn't need a vote at all. And then the last one is a new roof at the park office at Ted Williams Camp.
Which comes out of retained earnings. It was in the budget, so we have it. And Barbara, just so you know, that roof's never been fixed. We have to have buckets in there when it
That's
rains.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
My only question is though, I don't see that under retained earnings. I see that under free cash.
Yeah, originally was under free cash, we changed to.
yeah, I
retained
see it under
earnings.
retained earnings here.
Oh, okay, I'm working off of an old copy.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye, aye.
Aye.
Okay, that should be everything. Is there any old business?
I'd like to ask another question if we can.
Yeah, of
course.
course.
Under the transfer station, did we take out the LED light replacement or did I miss that discussion?
That was the one we just, we kind of mentioned about the retained earnings being spent down
Yeah.
from the
Okay,
enterprise.
I just want to make sure I understood that, so that's why I have them checked. Okay, cool,
Yep.
great.
Yeah, I'm bringing all this to the May 19th meeting, to the select board to get, I guess, final approval on.
Yep,
Before we send along to the finance committee.
I'll be there. I'm sure Barbara might be, just in case you have any questions.
Right.
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much for, working so hard on this budget. I know this is a really tough year for both for everybody, but thank you. You guys are doing a great job.
It's amazing, the work they do,
And we're getting there.
especially since I come down there every day. I have no friends, Barbara, so these guys are my friends. All right,
Motion to adjourn, or?
yep. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting ends at 3:27.